Some people actually think.
You good? All right. Hey, everybody. I'm just going to keep this down.
I want to crank up the volume a little bit.
Let's see. Do you need it louder? Can everybody hear me? Okay. All right. Well, welcome to the 37th annual Acton and Boxborough DTC picnic. This is great. First, I want to thank my friend Bob Lucas, our musician, steel drum player. Thank you, Bob. It was so nice to hear you play. It is just perfect for this kind of day, too. So I want to thank everybody for coming. My name is Abby Reep. I am the chair of the Boxborough Democratic Town Committee. And I don't have to tell you all how important this election year is. All of us must do whatever we can to impact the outcome of the upcoming election. So thank you for canvassing, making phone calls, texting, donating money, writing postcards, talking to friends and neighbors here and afar, volunteering to work the polls or give rides to the polls, organizing forums, etc. Everything matters. So maybe you haven't done any of those things, but just by being here, you are a part of a supportive democratic community, cheering on and supporting friends and neighbors who are working to get Democrats elected. So thank you, everybody. Give yourselves a hand. So I want to recognize some local elected officials from Boxborough who are here. First, Nancy Settle-Murphy is Library Board of Trustees. Nancy, give us a wave. There she is. Thank you, Nancy. Priya Sundaram, Boxborough Select Board member and DTC member. Nancy's a DTC member. She's our secretary, actually. And Dennis Reep, Boxborough Town Moderator. And yes, he is my husband, and I could not do this without him. Thank you, Dennis. Also want to recognize some DTC chairs that are here. Ellen Church from Hudson. Ellen, thank you for coming. Janine Wood from Littleton. Hey, Janine. Thanks for coming. James Cohen from Stowe. Hi, James. I don't think I missed any other chairs. If you're a chair of a DTC and I missed you, please yell at me. Okay, good. Okay, yeah. We also have amongst us Kate Donahue, rep from the 19th Worcester District. Thank you for coming, Kate. All right. So this picnic would not be possible without the help from everyone who helped organize, set up, bake food, cook food, bring food, volunteer to run errands. It is truly a group effort between the two committees. And so thanks to everybody, and thanks for everybody for coming. Lastly, just to let you guys know, the Boxborough DTC will hold our monthly meeting, as Acton will also. So feel free to stick around after the picnic, and immediately after we get this cleaned up, we'll have our brief meeting, and you are more than welcome to come and join us. So that's it for me. I'm going to turn it over to Sahana, who is the Acton DTC chair.
Thank you, Abby. Can you all hear me? Perfect? Okay, wonderful. So good afternoon, everyone. And it's fantastic to see you all here at the 37th annual picnic hosted by Acton and Boxborough Democratic Committees. First off, a huge shout out to Abby, the chair of the Boxborough Committee. Abby kicked things off in her usual warmth and energy. I'm so grateful for your leadership and partnership. Thank you. Since stepping into the role of the chair of the Acton Committee in May, it's been a true joy working with such a dedicated, enthusiastic, and dynamic team. A huge shout out to my committee and the executive committee, especially Miriam Lizak, who's our picnic coordinator. Thank you, Miriam. Today is all about celebrating our shared values and having a great time together as a community. with that, I know I have to recognize a few of our Acton electeds here. We have David Martin, who's the Acton Select Board. Leela Ramachandran, School Committee. Miriam Lizak, Library Trustees. Linda Vieira, our West Acton Library Trustee. And with that, I'm going to actually, let's give a warm welcome to the chair of the Massachusetts Democratic Party, Steve Carrigan.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, everybody. Sorry for the long walk to the stage. With my short legs, every walk is a long walk. Good afternoon, everybody. Can everybody hear me? Fantastic. As Swan said, first of all, let's give it up for our two co-hosts here for this fantastic, fantastic picnic. Thank you so much. And by the way, for ordering the amazing weather. As last year we were all jammed in Abby's living room or TV room, which was lovely, and we celebrate that, but this is by far better, and probably better for them, because they know when they get home you all won't be there in their living room. But it's exciting to be here. It's also great to be here with so many fantastic friends who have been doing incredible work all across the Commonwealth for Democratic candidates and causes all year. As has been said, and Senator Reeser and I were just joking about this earlier, that almost every speaker you'll hear today will tell you this is the most important election of your lifetime. And it is true for many, many reasons. But I will focus on all of you for a minute, if you'll let me. I want to come to you from a place of gratitude to thank you for the work you all do in your communities, both on your committees and in elected office in your community. I chair the select board in my hometown, so all of you in local government, I feel you. I know what you're going through. But none of us in politics in Massachusetts and around the country would be who we were without folks like yourself. Being willing to volunteer, step up, stand up for your candidates and the causes you care about. And so it's incredibly important that we take moments like this to pause and say thank you to all of you for your hard work, not just now, but for years before and hopefully years to come. And by extension to your families who let you do all this crazy work and let you go to far-flung places and knock on doors and make phone calls and fill up your garage with signs and stickers. We literally can't change the face of this world without volunteers like you. So give yourselves a huge round of applause. And we were up in New Hampshire yesterday, up in Nashua. We had 168 Massachusetts folks go to New Hampshire yesterday, which was a huge turnout. As many of you heard me say before, Massachusetts has two great exports, cranberries and political activists. And we are showing our stripes when it comes to activism this cycle. This has been an incredibly dynamic last 7 weeks since the switch from President Biden to Vice President Harris. But as I said to the crew yesterday, who had, dozens and dozens of folks had shown up to knock on doors for Kamala Harris and for candidates up in New Hampshire. You might have come to this cause and to this campaign because you believe in education funding. Or you might have come to it because you understand that 50 million more Americans have health care because of the Affordable Care Act done by Democrats in Congress and President Obama. You might come to this volunteerism and the work that you do because you believe families like mine and the LGBTQ community should be able to love who you love, marry who you love, raise children in your home. You may come to this cause because you believe in a union's right to organize and safe working conditions. You may come to it because you believe in safe drinking water. We were just talking about the complications around having well water as your home water. You may come to this because you just frankly think that kids deserve a school where they're encouraged to read books, not told what books are banned. You may come to this because you understand that every person deserves the dignity of being able to make their own healthcare choices. And so whatever reason you come to this campaign and to these causes, and you may be here because, frankly, you watched a great debate last week. Let's give it up for Vice President Harris, where you saw two competing views of the future of our country. You saw one that was revenge-fueled and insult-laden and seemed like a narcissistic autocrat-in-waiting fever dream. And then you saw one that was focused on all of you and your hopes and dreams and your freedoms and the fights that we all have together to preserve those freedoms. The simple freedom to control your own body and for women to make their own healthcare choices. The simple freedom for a kid to go to school without fear of getting shot. Freedom to be able to walk down your streets and breathe clean air. So there is a lot at stake in this election. So this is the most important election of your lifetime. And what I don't want anyone here in Massachusetts to do is wake up on November 6th and regret not having done more. We are lucky here in the Commonwealth that this year we have a record low number of competitive legislative races, which I attribute to the fact that our legislators do a fantastic job, so no one wanted to challenge them. So give them a huge round of applause. And in the general election, in our governor's council race, we don't have a fight there. And so Mara Dolan, who won a great campaign, is going to work incredibly hard for Democrats up and down the ballot. But we understand in Massachusetts that we have a higher obligation than just helping our colleagues here in Massachusetts win. We have an outsized influence all around the country, and I know you're all going to join me in that work. Whether you've come to New Hampshire before, whether you've made phone calls into Kentucky last year like we did for Andy Beshear, or into Wisconsin like we're doing this year for Vice President Harris, you know the work here, just because we don't have races in your community necessarily, is not done. We have an obligation and a commitment. So I come to things like this to ask you all to do me a favor. So New Hampshire doesn't have early voting, but we do. You can start voting in Massachusetts on October 19th. And what I ask every Bay State Democrat or left-leaning independent or middle-leaning Republican, anybody who's doing the right thing when it comes to the vote in November, is to vote early. Vote as early as you possibly can. Right now, make your plan to vote. Whether it's mail-in vote or going to your town hall and voting early, vote early. And here's why. Because I promise you, this campaign is going to go down to the wire. Don't believe what you're seeing in polls. Don't believe what you're reading about massive money advantages, all that stuff. Because I'll tell you one thing, Kamala Harris is running against the entire Republican Party. And the entire Republican Party is running against every Democrat who's on a ballot across this country. You're running for Tammy Baldwin running for re-election in Wisconsin. Every one of the ads by her opponent against Tammy Baldwin also mentions Kamala Harris. So those numbers aren't even. So let's assume we are 10 points behind, and we need every volunteer on Election Day who can be to be in New Hampshire or be in their house on the telephones. So we need you to early vote so that you can dedicate yourself, GOTV weekend, to supporting Democrats up and down the ballot, whether it's here in New England or somewhere around the country. Will you all commit with me to early voting to make sure we get the job done? All right. I have no idea who I'm introducing next. Do you want me to pick somebody? Pick. That would have been interesting. Thank God you didn't have me pick. That's how you'd become the former chair of the Mass Democratic Party. But folks, seriously, we have a little bit more than 7 weeks to go. Let's make sure we run through the tape each and every day and make sure that the next time all of us get a chance to see Vice President Harris, she is the President-elect of the United States, and we'll be that much prouder. So thanks, everybody. We all know that when we fight, we win. There we go. Go fight, win. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Steve. When we fight, we win. Next up, we would like our all-time favorite state senator, Jamie Eldridge, to come up here to say a few words.
Thank you so much, Sahana. Good afternoon, everyone. Wonderful turnout here, and I really want to give a special thank you to Steve Kerrigan for being here. He was here last year when we were in Abby and Dennis's house, so thank you so much for coming, Steve. And as I think a lot of you know, I serve as a delegate at the Democratic National Convention. So, Steve, I just want to thank you so much for running a very strong mass delegation representing the convention. It was a lot of fun, very unifying. So, thank you very much. I of course, want to echo what Steve said about thanking Abby and Sahana for putting together today's picnic and all the volunteers. This is a great turnout. And I know there's some Democratic State Committee members here. I think they were recognized, but Carol Latrez is here. Of course, Kate Donahue as State Committee member. And unfortunately, Michael Gilbraith could not be here. He's the new Democratic State Committee member for the Middlesex and Worcester District. So he gives his regrets. As someone who is also a Democratic State Committee member, I just want to say that I'm just so proud that Democrats across this Senate district, including this part of the district, are so active. I know that many of you have been going up to New Hampshire. I think there's been some members that have been going to Pennsylvania recently. So I'm extremely grateful for that work, as well as the fact that I've seen a lot of you at some of the local state rep races, state Senate races that are competitive in this area. One I just want to note in particular, because this will be my focus between now and November 5th, is Margaret Scarsdale, who's running for state representative in the 1st Middlesex District. As some of you might remember, she won by, I think, 7 votes in 2022. 17 votes. Very close election that took a couple months to certify. So she has a very close race. So I'll be working to do a canvass kickoff probably sometime in early October. Someone that I supported, I know she'll be speaking a little bit later today, but someone I'm just so proud to say that soon she will be our governor's counselor, Maura Dolan. So Maura, thank you so much. Maura ran for 18 months for this seat. I don't know of anyone that's run that long for a governor's council seat, so thank you so much, Maura, for doing that. You ran a terrific campaign. And what I really want to highlight, beyond echoing what Steve said about the presidential election and getting out there and other competitive races, and that's obviously our focus, and that's what Democratic committees ultimately are there to do. But I just want to give a little bit of a snapshot about what I hope the legislature can take on next session, and very proud to represent Boxborough with Representative Sina, and then Acton, myself, Rep. Sina, and Rep. Cataldo. I know they'll be speaking in a little bit, but what I want to say is, and I'm thinking about, I think what's something that Governor Tim Walz recently said, where he said, you know, you build political capital to use it, right? And so whatever happens between now and November with the legislature, we really need to focus, I think, on a number of key issues, some of which, unfortunately, we didn't get to this session, or some that just are sort of long-standing. One of the billboards just below me here is the Inequality Forum on Monday night, September 30th. I really hope that you can attend. And really, as someone that has worked hard to organize other forums with Democratic committees across the Senate district, we had a democracy event in Marlborough. We had a housing event in Acton. We had an event around supporting refugees and migrants in Harvard. It's not just about getting Democratic town committee members there, but getting other people too who will hopefully join the committee and be active. And that's part of why Acton, Boxborough, other town committees are so strong in this area, is we're continually bringing in new members. So please take a flyer, please spread the word about the forum, because Massachusetts, while we have among the wealthiest people in the country, and we have a very wealthy state, and you're seeing that with the millionaire's tax, which has exceeded expectations by over $2 billion a year that legislators we are now using around transportation, education. But the reality is a lot of working class people, there's a lot of low income people that are really facing some significant barriers, and we really need to do a better job, big picture, on addressing inequality in Massachusetts. So I hope that we can do that next session. When we talk about the millionaire's tax, I think it's important to realize that the main reason we have the millionaire's tax, and I know a lot of people here organized for it, but it really was a couple of key unions, right? It was the AFL-CIO, it was SEIU, it was Raise Up Massachusetts, and this was a 10-year effort that is finally addressing some of the inequities around transportation and education. We need to do more for labor unions. That's an area where we fell short this session, whether it's looking at wage theft, whether it's looking at addressing the Uber and Lyft inequities for a lot of the drivers. whether it's talking about what the legislature can do to make it easier to organize and form a union. So I'm hopeful we can pass some more legislation that better supports labor in Massachusetts, because just think about how much those labor unions have done for all of us. And then healthcare. I'm sure that a lot of you have followed some of the work that I have done and Representative Sina have done around the Neshoba Valley Medical Center, which disgracefully closed 2 weekends ago. But not just Neshoba Valley Medical Center, but access to mental health care, rising prescription drug costs, whether you're talking about families or businesses. You're seeing some of the psych units close down in hospitals across Massachusetts. Even maternity units are closing down, including Leominster Hospital. So we really need to work on health care. Hopefully you're following that even though we're in an informal session, we're passing a number of major health care bills around long-term care, around maternal health, hopefully prescription drugs, and addressing the disturbing presence of private equity in our hospitals. However, I think we need to go further. I think we need long-standing major reform to our healthcare system. And again, this is in Massachusetts, where we provide arguably the best healthcare, not only in the nation, but in the world. And the last issue is around housing. Of course, this has been a big issue for Governor Healy. To her credit, she filed the biggest housing bond bill in history. We were able to pass it through, in part through the efforts of Representative Jim Arciero from Westford and Senator Lydia Edwards from East Boston. So I'm proud what the legislature did on the bond bill. Of course, bond bills are just money. They're just money that's borrowed and made available to communities. Taking a little bit of pride of being from Acton is the Acton Housing Authority has really stepped up to build a lot of housing, and I appreciate the support that the Select Board and Housing Authority and the Planning Board have made to actually building new low-income housing, not just Chapter 40B housing, but low-income housing. But I do think we're at a point now where every single one of us in our communities needs to be more active in supporting housing, because it's one thing to pass the MBTA Communities Act, it's one thing for us to pass the bond bill at the state level, but if we're not supporting affordable housing at the local level and lending our voices, whether it's select board meetings, planning board meetings, writing letters to the editor, showing support for housing, we're not going to reach the housing goals that we need to better support working families, low-income individuals, many, many immigrants across Massachusetts. So inequality, health care, better supporting labor unions, and housing are things that I hope we can tackle next session. Thank you so much. I am unopposed, but I appreciate your support for my reelection this year. These are some of the strongest Democratic committees in the state, so thank you so much for your support, and let's knock on those doors and get out, whether it's from Margaret Scarsdale or Kamala Harris. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jamie. All right. Our next speaker is our very own State Representative Dan Sina. And I see it right over there, Dan. Dan represents all of Boxborough. We're happy to have you. Come on up. Sure.
How are you? I thought you got to pass me the mic, but...
Yeah. Come on. Sure.
Well, I want to thank Abby Reeb, and Sahana. They put so much work into this event, and also all the members of the Acton DTC, Boxborough DTC. I am honored to represent the district that I have, Acton, Boxborough, Harvard, Ayer, Groton, and Shirley. Senator Eldridge, when I started working for Jamie, this was back right after college, I had met Jamie in high school and really had a chance to speak with him about the issues that my community or our community was facing, whether that was immigration reform, whether that was student loans forgiveness, or helping students achieve an education. And I felt he was on those issues, he was right there. When I started working for Jamie and the barriers that I've seen as a district director, with constituent services, with housing. And the fact that people are applying for housing, they have to wait 5 or 10 years to obtain housing. That's not right. Even though we have passed major reforms with what he mentioned about the governor's initiative, I'm very proud to vote for that bill, but I know we're going to see the fruition of that in the next years. Housing crisis, I think we certainly have to be advocating for more housing. Public housing, I know Senator always mentioned that, and I really see how it benefits the community. I know in Acton we have quite a few, and another project coming. With student and education, I mean, this is the first time that you can go to college at a Middlesex Community College or a state college and not have to pay a dime. I mean, the fact that you can actually, so proud of the governor initiative, also the legislature for doing this, because I think education is really the key to success in any country, in any place. I mean, I came to this country at the age of 14, and I'm not planning to eat any cats or dogs so I really just want to make sure that we're opening the doors for housing, opening the doors for education, giving people an opportunity to achieve their desire, what they want to do and what they want to give back to this country or their community. I just very proud to work with the delegation we have. Very honored to represent you, and reach out to me as we move forward, but really housing, education, healthcare, I know that was a big one, especially recently with Neshoba Valley closing. That really kind of breaks my heart because when you see people or an institution as a hospital like this and making money, and we're talking about millions of dollars, getting help from the state, and then yet they just say, okay, bye-bye. In 30 days, they closed when they actually have to give at least 120 days notice. And that was like almost a slap in the face for my district, for the people I represent. So my hope is that we can find a new agency or a new hospital. Someone can take that over. In the state, we're willing to help with whomever it is, and I'm really hoping for a nonprofit, someone that is just not fully just for profit, that can run that hospital. But with that, I just who's the next speaker? I'm thinking it's Simon Cataldo, but Sahana, do you want to? All right, thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. The next speaker is Simon Cataldo, State Representative for 14th Middlesex.
Thank you, Sahana, and thank you, Sahana, especially for baking the brownies and the cupcakes, which are feeding my campaign manager over there. And thanks to all of you for your activism. One of the slogans of the Harris campaign is, "We're not going back." Have you heard that? We're not going back. When she says that, in my mind, I don't just think we're not going back to 2019. I think we're not going back to 1774. And I'm quite serious about that. You know, we're here for the Acton, in Boxborough, in Stowe, in Hudson, Democratic town committees, Bolton. Who did I miss? Any other DTCs here? Westborough, of course. So almost all of your communities participated in the first provincial Congress, which happened 1 month from today, 250 years ago. That was a convening of the leaders from communities all across Massachusetts who had agreed with the Crown-appointed governor, Thomas Gage, to hold a legislative assembly and make demands about taxes, about rights, about how Massachusetts was going to be governed. But at the 11th hour, Thomas Gage, the Crown-appointed governor, canceled that meeting. And in what I believe to be the greatest and boldest and most consequential act of revolution ever, people from your communities decided to meet anyway. They met in Concord at the First Parish Church. They hatched plans on October 11th. They hatched plans to raise a militia. They decided to send their provincial taxes to entities other than the Crown. And most importantly of all, they turned the entire concept of government on its head. Under the crown, government was something that either gave you rights or took them away. That's what the king did. That's what government was. But under the ideals of these new American patriots, government could only limit your natural rights, rights that you were born with. They were given by God, no matter where you were born or who you were born to, on these shores or on other shores. They could only be limited vis-a-vis the consent of the people. That was their ideal. And so just several months later, when Isaac Davis from Acton, very underappreciated part of our history in the United States, he came with the Acton Minutemen. He stopped at Barrett's Mill Farm. You know that intersection, Strawberry Hill Road and Barrett's Mill Farm, and there's a piece of granite right there? That's where he stopped. And he offered every Acton Minutemen the chance to go home. None of them said yes. They kept marching to the North Bridge. Isaac Davis was the first person to die in the American Revolutionary War. So when I think about we're not going back, I don't think that it is hyperbole to say we're not going back to 1774. That's what this is about. In the Massachusetts legislature, we have been, in my view, preparing for this. We were first on row. We have the lowest rate of gun deaths of any state in the union, and then we improved upon that law over the summer. We have the best public education system and one of the best healthcare systems, although we have a long way to go, as Senator Eldridge said. There's a lot more that we have to do. I've been working with colleagues, many of you who are here, to successfully delay and hopefully one day stop the insidious and unacceptable expansion of private jet hangars at Hanscom Airport. We have to have a climate bill. And in fact, the law that I wrote to update Massport's charter for the first time since it was created in 1956 was in both the House and the Senate version of that bill. So we just have so much more that we have to do. And we have to do it mindful of the fact that we don't know what's going to happen in November. What we have to know is that all of us are going to do everything we can. And to that end, I had the pleasure of sitting down with Gwen Walls for about half an hour on Thursday in Boston, Tim Walls' wife. And first of all, what an amazing person. I think we need more people like her. She's a former special education teacher. She still teaches teachers. And she was telling stories about helping her husband run for Congress, phone calls, postcards, all that, helping them win the legislature so that they could have a sweep, as Senator Eldridge just mentioned, Democrats in the House, Senate, and executive office there in Minnesota, and they've done quite a bit of that. But she's still doing it. And she's still doing it, she says, in part because she's worried about Pennsylvania. She says, we don't have Pennsylvania right now, and we need Pennsylvania. So set aside your New York Times, set aside your social media, don't pay attention to the polls, as Jared Kerrigan said. Focus on doing whatever you possibly can. So thank you to those of you who went to New Hampshire. Thank you to those of you who have been going to Pennsylvania. Get on the Mobilize app, use the QR codes, and please get involved. I think that it is, as I said, not hyperbole to say this may be the most consequential presidential election we've had. So keep going. I know that you can do it. Thank you.
Thank you, Simon. And with that, the next speaker is going to be our Governor's Counselor nominee, Mara Dolan.
Thank you. Thank you so much. We did it. It was all of you. We did it. We did it. We did it. And I first of all want to recognize all the electeds here who endorsed me and supported this campaign. State Auditor Diana DeZoglio, State Senator Jamie Eldridge, State Representative Simon Cataldo, State Representative Dan Senna, Thank you so much to the Acton Boxborough chairs who organized this wonderful picnic, Abby and Sahana, and it really speaks well of this event that there are people from so many other Democratic town committees here, Stowe, Hudson, Carlisle, Littleton. If I'd known you were all going to be here, I would have had numbers for your towns too, but I've got some numbers from Acton and Boxborough that you need to know about. Because when I say we did it, I really do mean we. One of the biggest issues in this campaign was people just not knowing what the governor's council was. But you all know, if you care who our judges are, you need to care who your governor's counselor is. Because they confirm our judges, our parole board members, and commutations and pardons. And because so many voters just didn't know what that was, a lot of people who went to the polls 2 years ago didn't vote in this race. And I want you folks in Acton to know what you did. Because in 2022, the percentage of people who went to the polls but didn't vote for governor's counselor was 13.76. This year was 7.14. Give it up for Acton. And in Boxborough, wait to hear this. In 2022, the percentage of blanks was 13.9%. This year, 5.7. Good work, Boxborough. Yes, I am continuing the fight for Democrats all across the country. I am organizing a canvass for Portsmouth the first Saturday in October. If anyone's interested in joining me, let me know. I'll get you the link. We'll go up to Portsmouth. We'll have a wonderful time. We'll help Kamala Harris. And by the way, I think Kamala, we got to win New Hampshire. It does look good, but look it. We might be able to elect a Democratic governor in New Hampshire too. So let's make sure we get up to New Hampshire and help those folks up there. Second, I'm working on a special project with Left of Center, which is an organization I co-founded, to target for John Tester, who's a very important senator that we need to make sure we hold that seat. I don't know if you know, but John Tester has never won by a big margin. First time he won by 3,000 votes. Left of Center is targeting 74,000 Native American voters in Montana. If you're interested in helping with that, we need folks, let me know. I have to head out to Wellesley. There's a Democratic picnic over there. I just want to thank you again. I am incredibly honored and grateful to be your Democratic nominee for Governor's Council. Thank you so much.
Okay, everybody. Thank you, Maura. Our next speaker is our state committee woman, Carol Latrez.
Hi, everybody. I am really glad to be here today. I have to tell you, in the entire district, this is my favorite picnic. So well done, Acton and Boxborough. You always bring the great vibes. So thank you. Thank you. Can you hear me now? Yeah. Okay. So what I just did was a big cheer for Acton and Boxborough. Awesome picnics every time. You can always count on your group. Another thing we can count on Acton and Boxborough for, and the other towns in the district, is really strong activism. I have to say that from what I've seen, everybody has really been putting forth a tremendous effort to support Kamala Harris in our striving to support democracy and maintain it in the country. And I just want to thank everybody who's put forth an effort for that. Another thing that I could mention is that Stellico has a tremendous information table over here on ballot initiatives, the measures that are up for our review in November. And if you need more information on the questions, please feel free to see Stella and pick up information over there. Otherwise, thanks very much, everybody, and enjoy the gorgeous day.
Thank you, Kara. Okay, our next speaker, and actually our last speaker for today, is State Auditor Diana DiZaglio. And we're so happy to have her. She came from Peabody, so give her a break. She's been in the car for a while.
Thank you so much, Abby. Hey, Acton, Boxborough, and surrounding areas. Great to see you. It is really great to see you. Yes, I was at the Peabody International Festival, and we had a great time there trying out some different foods. And I am Greek American, Italian American, and kind of actually a mix. But I ended up, I'm going to throw myself on my sword, at this wonderful international festival. I ended up stopping for a double bacon cheeseburger. And that was what I had out of all of the great international foods to try. But it was still a wonderful day, and I'm really, really excited to actually end the day with all of you. It's so beautiful out. So grateful for this wonderful weather. My name is Diana DeZoglio. For those of you who I haven't had the opportunity to meet yet, I am your state auditor before you run away. I don't audit any of you. I'm not the IRS. I do not look at your personal tax returns or your personal finances. I audit our state government for you to make sure that our tax dollars, the working folks from across our communities, that our tax dollars are spent efficiently and effectively. And our office also audits state programs, processes, and procedures in various state entities, agencies, and departments to make sure that their programs are working efficiently and effectively on behalf of the taxpayers they are meant to serve. What does that look like? Thank you. So people are excited about that. I love it. What does that look like? That looks like, and I apologize for some of you who I know I see at a lot of these Democratic events. You might have already heard about some of our recent audits, but you can become an expert. We recently audited the state's MBTA. We all know that the MBTA has been riddled with challenges, safety challenge after safety challenge, performance issue after performance issue, and, questionable contracts going out. That are taxpayer funded. We need to make sure that our MBTA is as functional as possible. And while folks might think about the auditor's office and think, well, what does the auditor's office have to do with the MBTA? We're not able to set policy. That's correct. We're not in charge of transportation or anything like that. But what we can do is we can go in and we can analyze their processes and procedures and make recommendations for improvement. We actually analyzed very recently and released a report. Please check it out. It's on our website. We released a report regarding a state contract that was actually a contract that privatized public services at the MBTA, and the MBTA had, through a loophole period under our previous Republican administration, during a loophole period with the Taxpayer Protection Act, meant to protect our tax dollars against unnecessary privatization of services, there was a loophole period where that law did not need to be followed, and during that period, this contract was entered into by the MBTA, services were privatized, and we ended up looking at that contract and finding a lot of unfortunate issues. One being that there weren't really any service level agreements between the MBTA and this private entity. Another being that the employees for this company, who were supposed to be trained on safety in particular and operations, they weren't actually getting trained adequately by this private entity. And then we found that the private entity was actually not conducting inspections of our MBTA stations, safety inspections, at the time that actually they'd agreed upon with the MBTA. They were supposed to do them 2 times per hour, and we found out that by and large, the vast majority of the time was not even occurring. So highlighting a real issue with oversight, and this is a contract worth millions and millions of our taxpayer dollars. Certainly that's of concern. We did put that report out there, but we didn't just put the report out there just to tell the MBTA several things that they're having issues with. We put it out there to make sure that there's accountability, and we called for change, and we made a set of recommendations to them that we believe will help to augment their services, such as ensuring that they are providing evidence of training their employees on safety and operations, and providing evidence that they're actually conducting those station checks in a timely fashion. And then we called on the MBTA's new management, because this was done under the previous administration. We called on the MBTA's new management to work alongside of our office to make sure that not just this contract, but any contract that they're entering into, that they have adequate what's called service level agreements in that contract, which stipulate what that entity is supposed to be doing for the residents of Massachusetts with that state contract that they received. So we're hoping that that helps and provides, some resources to the MBTA, shines a light on some of those challenges and some ways to make improvements, assists our wonderful legislators in this new administration as they work to try to improve the system as well, and as they make decisions on policy and the budget and on where to put those tax dollars. We also very recently audited our state's convention center authority. For folks who might not remember, last year, our Convention Center Authority was actually accused of having many challenges regarding racial discrimination, the handling of employee complaint practices, and also their state contracting and procurement. There were some ethical concerns that people had raised, that some people were getting access to information about state contracts and procurement before others were. Now, we're talking about very large contracts with the state of Massachusetts. Again, some in the tens of thousands of dollars, but some in the millions of dollars that were going out from the Convention Center Authority in Boston that we had concerns expressed to our office about. So our office went in, we conducted an audit, and we actually uncovered that not only did the employee complaint practices really signal that there was a tremendous challenge there, but also we identified that there was actually a $1.2 million non-disclosure agreement that was unlawfully executed at the Convention Center Authority to conceal allegations of racial discrimination and retaliation at one of our own state quasi-public agencies. This is, again, a taxpayer-funded entity here in the Commonwealth. It doesn't just stop there. We actually found that no-bid contracts were occurring as well in Massachusetts. We do have contract law, we have procurement law, we have things like Chapter 30B, and in agencies like the Convention Center Authority, which is a quasi-public agency, they're actually required to follow their own policies and procedures and their own governing statute, which in this case, it's the Acts of 1982 that governs the Convention Center Authority, just for anyone who's interested in some reading leisurely this afternoon. But we actually compared their practices to their governing laws about how they're supposed to enter into contracts in the state of Massachusetts and how they're spending our tax dollars. And we found that, once again, under the previous Republican administration, that the appointees there had executed no-bid contracts. Original bids for these contracts seem to have been destroyed, and our public records law requires the retention of these original bids for at least 7 years. And we ended up referring some of these challenges because they were so serious in nature, and some of these contracts that were executed were against the law. We needed to refer those issues to our state's Attorney General office for enforcement, and then also referred that potential destruction of those public records to the Secretary of State's office. So found some challenges there, and I have to say that I was really, really encouraged because the new interim executive director at our Convention Center Authority, Gloria Larson, who was appointed by the Healy administration, she was unbelievably compliant with our office. And I say that because a lot of folks do comply, but she went above and beyond to comply with our office, trying to make sure that we had the documents we needed, that they were cooperative with our office, and that we were able to identify those challenges. And then she committed to getting to work right away on addressing these issues and working together with our office and with all of the other entities responsible for making improvements, which, yes, is good. So I want to thank this administration for that and for that appointment, because it's going to take these agencies cooperating with our office in order to actually make those changes. Contrary to what some may think, the auditor's office, well, we can shine a light on issues. We don't have enforcement authority over these entities, so it really takes their cooperation and collaboration to make sure that we're addressing these challenges. So we were able to do that over at the Convention Center Authority, and we were grateful to the MBTA for collaborating with us, grateful to the Convention Center Authority for collaborating with us, because that's what it takes to make government work better. There is one instance over the course of the last year where that unfortunately has not been the case. And some of you may have heard, but our office is working currently on an audit of our state legislature. And we are looking to provide that same level of accountability, that same level of transparency to the state legislature, which, as we know, and as I know after having served as a state rep for 6 years and a state senator for 4, alongside of our wonderful legislators who I'm proud to support and enjoy working with still, Representative Senna. I know that Senator Eldridge is still here, and the whole delegation. In case I forget anybody, I know Simon Cataldo's here, Kate Donahue. They all do such wonderful work, and I'm so grateful to work alongside of them. But what I learned during my 10 years working alongside of them was the tremendous need for improvements regarding transparency and accountability. Because we continue for as progressive as your delegation is here, we continue in Massachusetts overall in the state legislature to be ranked as one of the least transparent state legislatures in the nation, in a blue state like Massachusetts, where we lead on so many different progressive issues, continue to be ranked at the bottom in this area where we consistently seem to struggle year after year with making progress on transparency initiatives. And I know that, you know, with some of the delegation here, we've co-sponsored public records reforms bills, Senator Eldridge, right? Fought for reforms in our rules packages. We fought to make sure that folks have at least 72 hours to read a bill. That was something we worked on together in the Senate. What a thought, huh? 3 or 4 days we want to give y'all to read a bill. But look, we've worked on initiatives just to even get an hour to read a bill and seen them fail, unfortunately. And there are a lot of good people in the legislature who are doing a lot of good work, but the system is broken. The system is broken, and it allows for power to be centralized in the hands of just a very select few people in the legislature who unfortunately are the ones who are not cooperating with the audit that my office is trying to provide as a service to our colleagues in the legislature to shine a light on where there may be areas for improvement regarding the use of our tax dollars. We know that 33 of these non-disclosure agreements were used in the House of Representatives alone in recent years. And we just talked about the NDA that was unlawfully executed at the Convention Center Authority. We know at least 33 of those NDAs have been executed in our own legislature, but we're not able to, because of the non-compliance with the audit, find out how much of our money was spent on it, what it was used to conceal, and what the situation was that allowed for silencing agreements that Trump uses, okay, to be used in our own state legislature. We're not able to look at that. Just like we found those procurement issues at the Convention Center Authority and found that there were no bid contracts going out. Unfortunately, we can't provide that same service to the legislature and audit their contracts to make sure that the contracts are not being executed unlawfully, to make sure that there's no issue or no challenge there and no misuse of our tax dollars. We also know that a lot of really great bills that many of us worked on, I heard, I think it was Representative Cataldo amongst others, bring up the climate change bill. You know, really important issue. Climate change is real. We need to take bold and meaningful action. That got left on the table this session, despite so many folks pushing really hard for that. Folks, we can do better. Yes, did some good things get done? Sure, some things got done, and we're grateful that some things got done. But at the end of the day, again, in a state like Massachusetts, why would we oppose something that could shine a light on ways to do better? We can't fix challenges in processes and procedures unless we can actually identify those challenges first, right? You have to be able to see what's wrong in order to be able to fix those things. Just trying to guess at why this keeps happening hasn't been working. And we know that the definition of insanity is trying the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. So we cannot keep going back legislative session after legislative session, advocating year after year for the same things, just to watch as the same thing happens. They get scuttled through committee, sent to study, okay, for the 10th year in a row, without any meaningful action getting taken, but not being really told why that's occurring, not having any insight into what's actually truly happening, because most of these decisions get made behind closed doors. And while an audit certainly can't pry its way into private meetings, folks have said, well, what is this, an FBI investigation? No. It's an audit. We can't take people's cell phones. We can't barge into meetings. The office doesn't go in and toss desks or anything like that. Certainly not. But an audit could look at those processes and procedures regarding how things are getting done, why things might be so slow. And we can do a comparative analysis with other states, for example, that may be doing things better. Maybe look at other states who are getting their budgets done in a timely fashion. We've had over 13 years that our state budget has been late here in the state of Massachusetts. Maybe do a comparative analysis with where people are able to get these things done in a timely fashion so as to help our legislature to improve upon what they're doing, not just for all of us, but it's actually something that would help the legislature as well. I said this at the last event I was at locally in Carlisle. I see some familiar faces here. You guys are everywhere. I love our state legislature. I actually adore our state legislature. I see your legislators. I can't help but run up and give them hugs. I've been working with these folks for over 10 years. I think it's been 12 years now, Jamie. We've been working together. And Kate Donahue. It's great to see you. But we've been working together for so long, and I love our legislators like many of you do. And, not but, and I love transparency. I love accountability. I love equity. I love accessibility. I love to see our democratic values supported at the State House. And those things are not mutually exclusive. And in Massachusetts, we need to make sure that those things are not talked about as though they're mutually exclusive, just because we have a couple of people up on Beacon Hill who have too much power right now that are trying to tell us that they should be mutually exclusive. No, they shouldn't be. Those two things go hand in hand. Transparency and loving our legislature, those things go together. They go together. And we have an opportunity to lead here in the state of Massachusetts. We have an opportunity to make real, meaningful, and lasting change this November. By going to the ballot, we have some great questions, and it's hard for me not to campaign for the other ones that I'm supporting right now, too. But what I will say is that question 1 gives us a real opportunity to make some meaningful change in state government. Question 1 asks us to approve my office's explicit authority to audit the state legislature in the same fashion that we've audited entities like the MBTA and the Convention Center Authority. And by the way, we also audit our judiciary, a separate department and branch of government, the same way that we provide audits for our judiciary in service to them to help them to make government work better as well. I ask for your support to make that authority explicit. Hello, Madam Chair. Good to see you. I remember, but still good to see you. I ask for your vote for question 1 in the November ballot when you go to vote. Our slogan this year is vote yes on 1, bring on the sun. And with that, I will give it back to Abby wherever she is. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you. Okay. Hang on. Yeah. Hang on just 1 second, everybody. Yeah.
Yeah, come on over. Thank you. No worries.
Yeah.
Can I get a state delegation to come up too?
Great. No, that's great. I'll have you. So I think Simon had to leave already. So. And where's Dan? Is Dan still here? There's Dan. Diana wanted the state delegation to join her. Okay. going to handle some. Oh, well, the Acton members still want to show for the Acton.
Okay, all right. I would like Ellen Ballard, our Chair Emeritus, to come up here, please. Ellen?
You've already done this. They've done this already. This is getting habit for me.
You hadn't been honored yet, so.
This is getting to be a habit for her, okay?
You're so sweet.
Well, I said Madam Chair when I spotted her in the back, but it's Madam Chair Emeritus. So pardon me. Ellen, this is in recognition of your dedicated service to the Acton Democratic Town Committee. Thank you for all that you do and for inspiring democratic values in your community. We love you, and we have this official citation from our office and on behalf of the entire state delegation. Thank you so much.
She's wonderful. Congratulations. We have more from Acton. Can we have Adrian Hancock? Adrian, are you here? He was here. Oh, there he is. He's a Vice Chair Emeritus. Thank you for all your work. Yeah. He's been amazing.
Jamie, why don't you do this one?
Okay, thank you, Madam Auditor. And thank you so much for providing these very nice citations. They're laminated too, which I don't think the legislature has laminated citations, so this is very nice. So Adrian, in recognition of your dedicated service to the Acton Democratic Town Committee, thank you for all you do to promote democratic values in the town of Acton and across the Commonwealth. From Auditor Zaglio and the legislative delegation, congratulations and thank you.
So we have one more from Acton. A surprise, surprise. It's Bob Ferrara. Bob, please come up. Do such good work for our committee.
Oh, Bob, I have the honor, Bob, of reading it here. So, official citation, Bob, for Bob Ferrara, in recognition of your dedicated service to the Acton Democratic Town Committee. Thank you for all that you do to promote democracy, democratic values in the town of Acton and across the Commonwealth. And this citation given by Diana Zaglio today in the state delegation on this date, Bob, of the 15th of September, 2024.
Thank you, thanks, everybody. That was a surprise.
That's a real one.
And then she'll be, and you've got, yeah, great. Susan Bach, can you please come up?
Congratulations, Susan.
Congratulations, Susan.
Susan and I, hi. So, although I don't represent Susan in the legislature, Susan and I have worked together for many, many years, trips to New Hampshire, all over the Commonwealth, working to elect Democrats. So, the Commonwealth of Massachusetts official citation, Susan Bach, in recognition of your nearly 20 years of dedicated service to the Boxborough Democratic Town Committee. Thank you for all that you do to promote democratic values in the town of Boxborough and across the Commonwealth, and I'll add in across the nation. Congratulations.
Okay. And we have one more from Boxborough. Nancy Settle Murphy, come on down.
For everything.
Well, this is what I was told. I was told it's in recognition of your more than 10 years of dedicated service to this community advocating for democratic values. And this team here really wanted to honor you today. So there was special outreach to make sure that we did this. And of course we did. We do what we're told, especially by Abby. So Yes, we all do what Abby tells us. So this is on behalf of our office and on behalf of your state delegation. We just want to say thank you so much.
Tell us when we're good.
Look at this one for a second.
Okay.
That's a Yankee.
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
All right, I think
All right,
we're
thank
good.
you.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Abby. Thank you, Sahara.
Okay, everybody.
Sam, how'd you take a picture when you're recording? Is it like a screenshot?
I just let it record. I figured I'll take a screenshot later.
Oh my God, I love it. Thanks. Sam is like a same little laugh. Yeah, exactly.
All right.
That's exactly what she's been telling me all the time. I'm like, okay, man.
You look great. Hey, everybody. Just want to thank everybody for coming. And there's still plenty of food inside and desserts. And there's Blue Wave Punch. I think there's still some left. It's delicious. Thank you, Miriam. So please hang around, have some more food. And at the end of the picnic, which it ends at 5, we'll do a quick cleanup and have a brief DTC meeting for Boxborough and for Acton.
Thank you all, and Abby said it all. Thank you all for being here. Let's continue the party, finish the food. There's plenty of cakes, brownies, and salads, and all of the good stuff. And stay back for our meeting. Thank you.